Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. So here we are, part two with Mr. Caleb Bench. So I'm going to bring in Caleb right now. Caleb, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm doing really well. But we are also joined by Mr. Sean Rush. Sean, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks, Vinnie. Caleb, good to see you.
You too, Sean.
So we may be joined by Andy, we may be joined by Max at some point, but the reason I wanted to do this is just to kind of be less of a Q&A back and forth between myself and Caleb, because these roundtables sometimes are just more enjoyable, not just for us, but for the audience as well. So, yeah.
Well, it depends who you have on them, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Who are your friends, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing, like Caleb, I wanted to not just put the pressure, everything on you, wanted to show you are just another guy like us, and you have a life. It's not just Skinwalker Ranch every single day, focus. So yeah, that's kind of where my aim was. But one thing I wanted to just get out of the way, and we just talked about this off camera, was there are still people out there that have this belief that Skinwalker is all about TV, it's acting, and there's no science being done. Let's just touch upon that briefly, and you know.
So, looking back, kind of growing up, looking at a lot of how these reality TV shows are made, I get that. You can see this formula that's been used in other shows, and they've been successful, and people do need to understand too is and we get that, like we have this great company that we're working with, and they're trying to make a TV show, right? And they're trying to accommodate what we're doing out there on the ranch, and we're trying to accommodate them, and that happens. But I can assure people, that Travis and Eric are two brilliant scientists, and they do take this very seriously. And that's, again, a lot of this equipment that they're using, some of this stuff is, we're trying to get the best equipment we can. There is budget limitations. It's not like we just have all this money to throw at things, and we're trying to allocate the best equipment we can. But again, with a TV show, people, it's visual, and so we're trying to make something look cool so people do have that entertainment, but we are trying to do the real science, and that's where it's hard. And then again, the ranch, it's a rugged area. It's hard to get certain equipment, certain areas, and things like that. So I can assure you, even before the show was never the main focus of the ranch. That actually just kind of happened to fall into place, if you will. So I've been out there since 2017. The show aired, 2019, 2020. And Eric has been continuously experimenting and researching since 2016, since he was brought in. So wow. I can assure you that he takes this very serious, and there's a lot of stuff going on that people aren't seeing. We kind of, I don't know if we touched on this the last time we talked, but Tom actually went through and did the math, and people are literally seeing less than 1% of the total film footage that's been shot.
Wow.
So say you have 5 cameras and they're running 12 hours a day, and they're cutting that down to 45
have a live
minutes.
Feed going almost.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And I can say that the ranch, when we first got there, or I should say when Brandon and Eric and really the starting of the team really got to the ranch in 2016, there was like almost no assets out there. And it's been a continual improving the systems, and it's a project, and it's always evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, does Eric and Travis and that, do they get much time to do work outside of the ranch on other projects, or like, are you aware of the split between where their focus is?
Yeah, so Travis helps with the investigation as much as he can. He's obviously got his day job, and he lives in Alabama. He flies in and helps as much as he can, and that's where Eric's He's the principal investigator, and he lives about 2.5 hours from the ranch himself, and he's actually got a lot of things set up at his house.
Wow.
And so really the two that live locally are Tom and I, and we're only 5 miles from the ranch. So a lot of times we're out there getting stuff set up for Eric, and one of the things that we've talked about is if there's something going on at the ranch, and say we see something and we start interacting with it, how did we change the behavior of that circumstance or whatever it is, right? And so we've seen things, and it's almost like, and sometimes we get the feeling like we're the ones being watched or we're the ones being surveyed, and it's like, if you've ever gone hunting or anything like that, when you're stalking like you're a deer or an elk or something, if they know you're there, they take off.
Sure.
And so it's like, if there's something out there and we're trying to survey it or watch it or learn from it, and it's unaware, if you will, and we start interacting with it, that changes the whole dynamic. So there's all these different ways of looking at what we're doing out there. And, Eric's always...
Have you ever come across something that you thought was unaware of your presence?
I had one experience a couple of years ago where it was just odd, and and it was almost like, and that's the thing, is it's hard to
how do you really tell, I guess, but
how do you quantify it? It's really who knows, maybe. And that's one of the things that's with the ranch, the longer you're out there, and I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but the longer we're out there, the more we're convinced that there is some kind of intelligence out there. And
absolutely,
say that all the time. So
can I ask you this? Do you feel like you're kind of in this weird middle ground with, you're doing the show, which kind of, prohibits you from kind of giving all info at once or whatever, because they have their prerogative and everything. But you kind of need the show, I would imagine, to help you continue to study financially. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of in this back and forth line that you always have to play. Is that accurate?
I think certain points, obviously some of the financial side from the TV show is important, right. And they are able to reach out to some different individuals who I think wouldn't be as willing to come out and be involved with it if it wasn't there.
Sure.
But we are always doing experiments out there. Eric is always updating systems, and we're trying to keep the science as clean as possible. And we kind of touched on that. Yeah, it's not easy. You got different parties out there, and they're trying to work together. It can get complicated at times, but it's one of the things that I know there are frustrations there where we want to show the true science. We want to be as honest as we can, but then we also have to show something that's entertaining. We have to show something that people will enjoy watching.
Which is unfortunate, because what you're doing is entertaining by itself. You don't need anything else. Yeah.
And that's what's cool is, like, when we brought the Tesla coil out for season 2, how cool is that? And it's very visual, which is amazing. And what people, and you got to have that for television. You got to have something very visual that catches people's attention. But with the Tesla experiment at the Triangle, we have so many things happen at that specific area. And we're trying to see if this is just aerial phenomenon or if this is something that's, below ground too. And, I'm sure if you guys watch the show, like you've seen how we got there with the Tesla coil and just the different things that we were trying to do there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to take this opportunity. So Andy, Caleb, Andy.
How you doing, Andy?
Nice to meet you, Caleb.
Thanks for joining us, Andy.
What's up, Sean?
Caleb, you're right. There were so many things. Almost every episode there was something new as far as experiments and testing. We did touch upon some in the previous interview. Mm-hmm. I think some of the real standout ones are the electromagnetic anomalies, the compasses, the drilling, the rockets. Like, I'm going to leave it to you to kind of go into whichever aspect you want to.
You know, with that's one of the things. I guess I can't. Gosh, I'd have to go through and watch the show again to kind of see what we got in there. But you know, say like take the compasses. Um, I've seen your old woodsman compasses spinning in circles. You know, we were seeing that out there. And we're also seeing obviously like cell phones and the compasses on those showing weird directions, you know, and we're seeing multiple devices all doing this at the same time. And it's like the only way of showing that is like we're recording it, you know, and we're constantly checking ourselves like, oh, do I have anything on me that could really affect this compass? You know, like say I have to think about is like the hammer on my pistol. That sometimes a lot of the times they have magnets inside, small magnets in that, and that could affect, you know,
Right.
something. And so we're always
That's what I was
constantly
thinking,
going, okay,
magnetic anomaly.
yeah, we're always constantly looking at ourselves and going, okay, is this something that we're creating? Which we admit that like we have weird things happen all the time, but we know that our own equipment is emitting stuff, and we try and account for that as much as possible. And that's what's really cool is we see so many things happening that kind of blow that out of the water, where we know it's not our stuff because our own equipment can't produce what we're seeing.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
Caleb, I got a question.
Yeah.
Have you guys experienced anything remotely close to what the original civilian owners had reported seeing and experiencing while they were there?
I guess what specifically are you
Big
referencing?
wolves,
Big
Yeah, well, no, yeah, they did have that incident with the massive
flying
dinosaur wolf.
refrigerators.
Right. I have found large canine tracks on the ranch myself, but we do say, you know, I can say there are wild dogs running out there, and some of them are pretty big. We have I have heard different growling and different things out on the ranch when I've been out there with once with the team and then by myself. But that's again like we you know we know we have cougars, we know we have bears that do come down into this area. We're only 30 or 40 miles from the mountains in the area that we are, and bears do come down into this area. It's not as frequent, but it does happen. I can think of a couple weeks ago, one of my highway patrol buddies, he got a call just out on the highway. Somebody had hit and killed the 2 bears. And this was a mile from the city of Roosevelt. You know, so we do have large predators out here, but and again, I can't speak for what, you know, say that experience was like, say a dire wolf or something like that. I haven't seen anything like that. And obviously I am kind of open to it because I guess half the things I've seen out here I can't explain anyways. So
Have you read Hunt for Skinwalker?
I made it about halfway through the book.
Yeah. So I think that's what Andy's asking. See any of that stuff?
Well, I mean, they had some crazy things happen to them in that place while they were living there.
Yeah. So
Guys,
do you think any of this
I've
is
just had my
relative to
daughter shouting.
disclosure?
I'm just going to go and check on her. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Bear with me.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do you think any of what you're doing is relative to disclosure and what we're seeing with like UAPs and the whole push for transparency? Do you think how do you fit into that, or do you at all?
I think
I don't think
yes.
it has to be. Okay.
I feel confident in saying yes. I like I said at the end of the season 2 in our kind of roundtable, I feel like we've gathered enough evidence and are able to show that yes, we are seeing phenomenon out here that are matching UAPs and unknown aircraft, like how we caught that one UAP with Travis and on our security cameras, and that whole story is crazy.
What do you think of the public push for disclosure? How do you think it's
you
rolling
know,
out? What do you think?
I being law enforcement and that side of me, I can see how some information could cause a lot of individuals to break down. I've seen the worst and the best of people in some of these really intense situations, and depending on the information that they're given, there's people that just can't handle getting outside that box in their mind, if you will. And so I can see how that could damage, like I guess the people's
Psyche.
ability to comprehend what's going on, you know.
Sure.
But on the other side of me too is I'm one that believes that law enforcement, and just as being men, we got to be as truthful and honest in our dealings as we can with people. And you know, and that's where we do have to be careful about information, because, you know, you got to read people in these situations. But I do think there are things that come on. Like, I think there's more than enough out there. There's a lot more information coming out from the governments and military and law enforcement. You know, people are willing to speak about this kind of stuff more. And I think the ranch, yes, we've caught things on camera, and I think we've shown things on the show as well, that we're not making any of that up. You guys are seeing what we're seeing real time.
Yeah, there's too much historical, you know, context to that place for that even to be a question, I think, personally. I mean, since the beginning of our time here on this country, you know.
Oh, yeah, and it's, you know, there's a couple different ways that you could look at that. One, I never even really knew of the ranch before I was offered to go out there and do security in 2017. To tell you the truth, I had no idea the place existed. Woo. But I'd been in the oil field and I've been in the area.
Hello.
Didn't know what you were getting yourself into, did you?
I had no idea. But I'd been in the oil field in the basin for about a year and a half. And I did hear strange stories from guys who swore they saw weird things. And, you know, it was something I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, I'm not going to say he's wrong. I didn't see what he saw. I'm sure there might be a legitimate explanation for it, you know, and I've heard different stories, you know, and so I knew that this area had a history of oddities, if you will. And they weren't so outside what I've heard before. So I grew up in Southeast Idaho, and we also have a reservation in that area where I grew up, and I heard similar stories of such as skinwalkers and just different lore like that from, say, a Native American viewpoint. And then I kind of mentioned to Vinnie last time I was on here that I've always been intrigued with like mythology and history, and that's what I went to school for. And there's a lot of similarities when you start delving into, say, like Celtic and Nordic mythologies with some of the stories that were, you know, and it's like, and that just makes me think.
Magnolia by Jacques Vallée or something. He talks a lot about that stuff.
And it makes you think, like, all these people throughout world history, people have talked about seeing strange phenomenon, and these stories are coming from somewhere, and something has to have happened, I think, where you have entire cultures who are so superstitious of, say, a certain being, or like a skinwalker, or which sounds awfully a lot like a werewolf to me from, you know, from a European standpoint. And then you go to India, and I'm sure they have their stories that are similar, or, you know, wherever you go, you hear similar stories. And so I think that there's definitely an energy or something there that makes people get to that point.
Guys, I'm just going to jump in. Sorry that I missed that. My daughter's a little bit sick at the moment, so my apologies. Just going to give a shout out to Aaron Desario. Thank you for the $20 super chat. As a former Apple employee of 15 years, I have to comment on Caleb's phone having its lock code bypassed. That is impossible based on current technology. If that really happened, Apple should be all over that phone. Now, we touched upon that last time, Caleb, so I'm happy to touch upon it again because it's incredible. So.
Yeah, and, you know, and I expect that. And that's one of the big things that everybody's, in regards to, like, my experience out here, I always get comments about my phone. So, like I said last time, I do have a new one. And I've already had some pretty neat things happen with it in the last month since I've had it.
Wow.
Nothing like what I've seen with my past phone with the passcode, but, and again, this is specifically with my phone going past the passcode. It wasn't just a passcode on the phone itself. It was also bypassing security codes into other apps and things like that. And that was one of the things that really scared specifically Travis, and because of some of the things that he's involved with, you know, and that's national security implications. And I can assure you guys
Oof,
that
just
what
like
happened with my
Montana.
phone, you guys were seeing that real time. That was not a phone recording. That was nothing like that. That was happening real time. My phone being bypassed, and that happened multiple times. And we actually did reach out to Apple, and I don't know where that went. That was, that kind of went past. That I know that was Eric and Travis speaking with other individuals at Apple specifically about that. And so,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
your
Do you
guys
need me to contact Apple and find someone to look at it? Well, hey, it looks like it's being looked at already, but I think that's the kind of information that people would love to hear in the future, and be touched upon, because
and I guess one more piece to that too is, in law enforcement, I can tell you that our detectives, we're taking cell phones all the time because of evidence, and I can tell you that the detectives I work with have told me multiple times that they'll take these phones out to the FBI because they do have capabilities to try and get some information off these phones, but the phones are destroyed in the process essentially. And so that was one of the big things, is all my detectives were like, yeah, there's no way you could do that. And they had conversations with individuals who they worked with out in Salt Lake when they were going through these processes. And so it's one of those things.
It reminds me of the missile silos.
Mm-hmm.
In Montana, where Robert Salas, where they came and, basically manipulated our technology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bypass.
I don't know what I'm saying when I say they, but for lack of a better term.
Neither do we. So
you see UAPs and the maneuvers they make and the technology that would have to exist for that to be possible. Then you look at something like your phone and you're like, well, of course, duh, that's probably easy.
Yeah, we kind of have that conversation all the time when we're on the ranch. Like, they're just toying with us, or whoever, whatever it is,
Yeah, I was thinking about something real quick. When NIDS was there, they had that incident where the two individuals were out on the hill and supposedly saw an opening in the sky or whatever, and something came out of it, right?
Yeah.
I know I've heard another story. I forgot who. That claimed to have seen something similar near the ranch as well, where they saw this shadowy figure. So I was thinking about that, and it makes me wonder if these stories that you hear about people over the world seeing cryptids and these beings that, everyone thinks are fake or, they're not real, like the Jersey Devil, for example, if these things actually may be something that comes out of, like portals, like that NIDS reported seeing, you know what I'm saying? Because what they saw would have made me shit my pants. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language. Right. But when you think about it, honestly, in seriousness, and you hear stories from other people around the world that, they claim to see these creatures that people dismiss, it's possible that these things are appearing in different locations in that same way that was reported, when NIDS was there.
And, and that makes me think about what people are really getting with Skinwalker right now. How many places on the earth are really being looked at with the public eye and public attention with this level of scientists and these different individuals from these different backgrounds? Myself with law enforcement, Tom with his experience on the ranch as the general manager, and he's always out there. It's a working, living ranch. We have cattle out there. We have to run the water. We're maintaining that property, and Tom is out there at all hours of the day, especially with the water turns during the summer and stuff. And Bryant and Brandon and all these experiences all these individuals are coming out and seeing, and we're trying to bring it to the public's attention as honestly as we can, and show that we've had these crazy experiments and these crazy experiences. And, we're doing something like shooting these rockets off, and we are seeing the ranch react, if you will, whether that's some natural phenomena that we just can't explain yet, or it is some kind of intelligence that's reacting,
Do you ever notice any reaction off of playing off of emotion?
Yes. And that's where it's hard, because how do you quantify that? How do you kind of prove that, if you will?
It's a personal proof. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and that kind of leads me into it makes me think about an experience that we've had on the ranch, and then the similar energy that I felt, if you will. So a couple years ago, I don't know if you guys have heard the story about how Tom and I, we came back to the ranch because we heard there were some people that were potentially trying to come on through online chatter. And so we were out there for 3 or 4 nights in a row, 12, 14 hours. And we left to go home for the day to get some sleep before we came back. And during that time we were gone, we had some devil or Satan worshipers come to the property, go through one of our gates, damage some property there. And then we know that they performed some kind of ceremony out there. And when Tom and I came to the ranch and we found this, I know this sounds crazy, but the darkness and the heaviness, like the word that immediately came to both our minds was violation. Like the ranch had been violated. Yeah. It didn't ask for that. It didn't want that, and when Tom and I were out there, it was nighttime. Dude, it was like one of the craziest things I've ever felt. Like I could feel that pressure, if you will, around me. Wow. And it's just this dark energy, if you will, this dark frequency. It was real heavy. It wasn't good. And the only other time that I've felt that kind of darkness and that heaviness is on the suicide scenes that I've been, unfortunately I've had to go respond to as a law enforcement officer. And that kind of is what's hit me this last year. In particular, I've had 3 this last year that really stick out in my mind. And it hit me one day. This is the same energy. This is the same heaviness. This is the same just evil that I felt on the ranch that night. And I that's the only way I can really explain it, and it's something, like I've said, I've put a lot of thought into that. And and that was someone else bringing that to the ranch. And then
what do you do?
Then we also,
what do you do to get rid of that?
Myself, I have my own personal beliefs, and I've gone through, and I am very spiritual. I am religious. I do practice my chosen faith, and I went and I did some of the ordinances and the things that I put my faith into, and I was good. It was really powerful experience, and I was able to get that. It's really interesting. Good for you. I was able to. How our minds just bring stuff up once you've been through like a traumatic experience, like it just pops up. It's like you can't stop it from playing. Mm-hmm. The processes that I chose to do, it stopped it stopped that from happening immediately. It was very powerful. So it's something that, I can go through and think about it. If I go and access that file, if you will, it's there, but it won't just pop up and replay, So I went through and did some of my own, what I believe,
I love hearing that.
And it's one of those things that I am careful about how I talk about that, just because
I get it.
In today's world,
we get it.
There's things that are hard to talk about just because people.
I will just put it out there that as if you think that negative energy like that exists and there's evil, thick fog, let me tell you something. There is the exact opposite that exists as well. Yep. So you don't keep looking in the one direction.
Yeah, and that you hit it right there. Is I went to what I believe and I guess that's my thing, is I feel I've had enough experiences on and off the ranch. I had some very powerful experiences before I even went to the ranch that led me to think that there is that source of light or that source of good. And that's not my place to tell people if they're right or wrong. I don't think that's my place, but I'm willing to have that conversation with people. And I'm fully believe, like what our country was founded on is you have a right to think and believe what you want.
Yeah.
And you have a right to express that.
For sure.
What if locations like Skinwalker and, things like that, they're actually like locations on the planet where, this phenomenon is actually created by the planet itself. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you look at the planet as a whole, it's an actual living thing.
Yeah.
And we're a part of that, So like you were mentioning about the energies and how you felt, when you walked in on that scene with the the people doing the ritual.
Mhm.
It could be something similar to that, but on a planet-sized scale. That in certain locations it's focused on, or it's saturated enough where things occur that you can't explain. You know what I'm saying? And it could possibly be from the Earth itself creating this, phenomenon. And maybe UFOs are attracted to these locations because of that energy. So that's where you get the mix of seeing these objects and also seeing this phenomenon, because they understand there's something going on here. Maybe they themselves find it interesting and want to come to see what it's about.
And that's, that hits on kind of how I've answered some questions before, where I say science and religion are kind of doing this. They come together, if you will. They're not this opposite. They're ways of explaining different things, and I've had things happen on and off the ranch again that it's more easily explained through a scientific means. One experience, if you will, sorry, and then another experience that I have is more spiritual like that. And hitting on that, it makes me think like I'd love to go through and say, like, I've had family members and people have visited, say, like the battlefield of Gettysburg, or a lot of these old Civil War sites, or the Omaha Beach. You go to these places and people can feel this powerful, they have this very powerful emotional and physical experience. And it's like, what may have happened on the ranch, say 10,000 years ago, that maybe left such a massive imprint. That's something that we've talked about before. And I completely agree with you. What if there are these areas that I don't know how they were created, or why there's such an energy there.
What if it's the point of creation at some point was there, and what you're seeing is almost these different ingredients mixing around of some sort? I don't know. That's way out in left field, but
and that's the thing, is that that's like it's a
fun
fun
speculation.
It's a fun thought, and I can tell you that we have the conversations like this all the time as a team, kind of amongst ourselves.
Well, call me next time.
You also got to think about the fact that us living on this planet, right? We wake up every day, we do our normal routine all the time. We don't realize you're actually all the energy that the planet emits. We're a part of it. We're living inside of it. You understand? So everything that we experience may be due to all of this energy that the planet is releasing, that causes us to maybe behave the way we do, or see things the way we see it. You know what I'm saying? And it might be different somewhere else. You know what I mean? Maybe UFOs come here, or ET comes here to see what the planet does to life on this, on this rock. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like,
you're making me think of something that Travis, on this subject, one of the conversations that we had, Travis actually brought up that one of the biggest things that's happened in my lifetime, if not the biggest, 9/11. They noticed, and I'm sure someone in the comments or someone might have more information about this than I do, but Travis, I'm trying to get this out to you guys as cleanly as I can. Travis mentioned that you have these atomic clocks, I believe, or these random number generators.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And these random number generators during 9/11, and I think the day after, because something happened to where these generators or these clocks or whatever they were acting so outside of what they're supposed to do, and the theory is we as a human
collective energy.
Yeah, we as humans with our collective energy, thank you, did something to affect that because of what happened at 9/11.
It's measurable.
Yeah,
these are the ones in zeros, right? The generators, where it's kind of a balance.
From what I understand, they have these generators scattered throughout the world, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And they pick up the information from them during world disasters and stuff like that, and that's where they see these changes, because everybody's going through a situation, and all that energy is actually being picked up. So it's, for example, like I always use this analogy, or this example is like when you love someone, right? You have someone that you absolutely adore right there with you. You feel, I used like a rubber band example. Like when you take a rubber band and you just leave it alone, it's whole. But you take that and you stretch it, you know what I'm saying? And you start to see that everything pulls apart. So it's the same way with love, for example. You have that loved one next to you, but when that person distances itself, you can actually feel that
Yeah.
energy
That's
pulling it.
beautiful.
You understand?
Ooh, that hit me.
Great. I
Good
like
one.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good one.
so when you think about it, that right there shows you that energy, whether you, although you can't see it, it's just like wind. It actually exists and it's
You feel
real.
it. Yeah.
Understand?
No, I can feel it right now. I can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely real. So
Yeah, John,
I
that's awesome.
completely agree that these sensors are really actually picking up that energy because it's a real thing. It's a real, like it's not explainable, but it's real.
And that's one of the things. Like, how can you quantify that? How can you quantify a feeling? You know, how can you?
We're the sensors.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need scientific equipment. We're
the biosensors.
We can actually feel it. So why do we need a
We just
computer
need
to
to
tell us
trust
that it's
ourselves.
real when we are the computers that know this is real? Because if it wasn't, then we wouldn't have these emotions. We wouldn't feel what we feel. We'd be lifeless robots walking around just doing whatever the hell we're doing.
Yeah, we're such a complicated piece of machinery with all this stuff going on inside of our bodies, and and that's one of those things. I'm probably going to kill this quote, but it makes me think someone was talking about, I can't remember who it was, but they said that science is the explanation of things that are going around outside of our bodies, and religion is how we explain what's going on within.
That makes sense.
And I know I killed
just
that.
the
I
religion
have-
word,
it
that's
still
all.
made sense.
Faith, awesome. Spirituality, awesome.
but and this is one of those things is I get a lot of time out there when by myself, if you will, and I'm able to think a lot about the stuff, a lot about experiences I've had, and then I'm constantly finding stuff out there. I'm constantly just finding things that I don't know if they're a normal thing because of nature. I don't, but I have a lot of time to reflect and think about some of the stuff when I'm out there.
Do you bounce ideas off each other as well when on your downtime? Because obviously I think a few of us know that you and Travis do a lot of working out, when you're off the clock, let's say.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Is that a constant conversation as well?
Yeah, we're just at the end of the day, we're the core five of us. We're friends, and we're when we look out for each other, and we've had things happen, and we've grown together. And we know what's going on in each other's lives, and we're those relationships are growing. And I'm the youngest one out there. I'm 32, and I think
your baby.
Right. And Tom, I think, is the closest one to me in age, and I think he's going to be hitting his 40s this year, if I remember right. Or but all the other guys are
feel old now.
Right. Yeah, and I get a little bit of crap for that whenever I bring that up, But I guess for me, one of the personal experiences is, or kind of show you that is one of the guys. He's the exact same age as my dad would have been if he was still alive today, So, and I kind of brought that up to him. I was like, hey, you realize that you're the exact same age as my dad if he was still alive, And it was just kind of something where it's kind of a gut check a little bit for him and for me, And so it's like, we have obviously we have our relationships, and and there's a lot of stuff that people aren't seeing, and again, like we have the TV show, and it's crazy what they can do and how they can portray people and things like that. But again, at the end of the day, we all we care about each other and each other's families and stuff, and we're we are out there taking care of each other, and and we take it seriously, and
that's your only chance, really.
Yeah,
I feel like if you're together in it.
And we've had things happen physically and harmful things have happened to people out there, and we do take that serious.
I'm sure they've you've been asked this question before, but I'll ask it now. For you personally, with your experiences there, how has that affected you mentally, psychologically, when you're not near the ranch and when you're living your everyday life? Like, how do you look at the world after being around all that?
It's actually been kind of interesting. So, I feel like I've had this interesting path set in front of me, if you will. You asked me 10 years ago, or where you think I'd be. This was not anywhere near where I thought, right? But I kind of mentioned that when my dad passed away, that was kind of one of the big points where I really started looking at things differently. It was kind of that gut check moment where I had to look at myself and look at what kind of life I was living. And I was like, what's the point? And that's when I really started delving into, say, some of these bigger questions that mankind's always looking for that answer, right?
Yeah.
And I will think and believe that I was able to get into some information, and that's affected the way I look at things in this life. And I guess I've kind of gained more of an eternal perspective, if you will. And I felt like I was put on this path, and I didn't know what it was, and things just kind of fell in line. It was really interesting. And then we get to the ranch, and it was this opportunity that, why me? There's 50,000 other people here. There's in the basin, and and then there's all these other people there's all these other millions of people who have heard of Skinwalker Ranch, or somehow, or why me? Why am I the guy that's able to be out there in this position? And I guess it comes back to, I think there's this energy with our group, and it's been interesting seeing the other people that we've been able to bring in that are matching that energy, and we can feel that. And then there's other people that we bring out, and we're like, you just feel that, it's, it's not what we were thinking or what we were expecting.
I've spoken to Vinnie about this before. It's like, when I first started this, I didn't know anybody, you know what I mean? I just started it for my reasons, and little by little, I met Vinnie, reached out to him, because you got this, it's like you felt this, you kind of knew what the person was about, what they were posting, and what their intentions were. So you gravitate exactly, as a connection. And now we end up meeting all these people. You're friends with an entire community you never thought you were going to be friends with, and you all have this one thing in common. And it's when you take a step back and you look outside of the box in, you get the sense like all of this is happening for a reason, because everyone involved is now putting something or giving something back to the community. I guess you could say that is positive. You understand? It's like I feel like we've gotten further with this whole phenomenon, or understanding of all of this unknown stuff that for many years, we always thought was just bullshit. And now we're to a point where little people like us that never thought we would have been in this position are making more of a change than any major government or military or anything like that. So I feel like we're reaching people better than anyone else at any point in time before.
And like, it makes me think, like, kind of getting back to like your question there is, when I'm off the ranch now that I've been there for years, I've had experiences where something happens, and I specifically get that feeling of, hey, when you coming back, and it's so, like, one of our jokes too is the ranch is like this mafia where you can't get out. You're never gonna get out, because we have these. I have things happen. I've had things happen at my house. I've witnessed stuff, that I can't explain, and the only thing that makes sense is that like we talked about this hitchhiker effect from the ranch, and something followed me home, or it was already there waiting for me. I don't know.
That is so bizarre. I was like, when I just left for a second, I was like, I'm gonna ask him if he's had any hitchhikers.
Yeah.
And I get back, and that's exactly what you're talking about.
Well, that's why that was one of the reasons why I asked the question, because I wanted to see, what happens outside, how your life was affected outside.
And that's the thing is, I can tell you that there have been people who've come to the ranch who will never come back, because they had such a powerful experience, and it scared, lack for the better word, scared the shit out of them. Yeah. People have asked, Tom specifically, with what happened with his head, why he keeps going back. And that, and that's kind of where the joke came from, is it's like the mafia can't get out, because it just follows you home. And that's our kind of our attitude as a group, is we want to know what's going on, why this is happening, especially when we have things like that happen. Because if it's going to affect other people, we want to know if there's a way we can maybe help protect or stop it from happening, or stop these negative things from happening, if you will. I'm not going to say that we're going to be able to do that. Who knows? Right. There's so many unknowns out here, and that's what's crazy. and yeah, so and it's one of those things
Do you
that
ever-
could just drive you it'll drive you
ever-
crazy.
Ever bring an exorcist by?
No, and I don't know if that's something that we'd look at, because again, like, we're trying to, with the approach that we're having with the ranch, we are trying to keep it more in that scientific
Sure.
viewpoint, you know.
Well, you don't have to tell people about it.
To my,
do
I
it,
guess,
right?
to my knowledge, we haven't had anything like that happen. No.
Sure. Just curious.
Am I right in saying that a lot of the data going forward is going to start coming out on a more public front through the official website and things like that?
I know that there's things in the works, and that's always been the plan, is we want as much information out there as we can. You know, say like Eric and Travis specifically, like, they have mounds of data.
Yeah.
And Eric has done, I know he did one study back in 2016 where I can't remember however many pages it was, but he brought forth a lot of really cool information.
Wow.
And I don't know where that's at or where that information is at currently, but that is something that I know that's one of the big conversations, is how can we get the most amount of information out there and really show people what we're doing. And again, like, that was a conversation even before the show. It was even an idea, because again, that was kind of that was somebody that just happened to send the right email or was able to make the right connection with somebody on the team, and it moved from there. That was never a goal, and I can tell you that, you know, I've seen some allegations that Brandon's made all this money. I can tell you that he hasn't. Right. He hasn't taken a penny from the TV show, you know.
Well, he doesn't need to. He's a very successful real estate agent.
Yeah. You know, and I think that's one of the things, is that's Brandon is a really, really stand-up individual. And I've been around him enough to know that, you know, he wants to show information and be truthful and things like that. And that's what we are trying to do that.
Yeah, he does go out of his way to talk on social media as well and answer questions.
Yeah.
And I must say, always in a very eloquent way as well, even against the harshest of trolls, shall we say. He's very, very reserved and doesn't
That's his
bite.
confidence.
Yeah.
It is, but you know, he doesn't owe anyone anything. And the few times he has alluded to the fact that they are going to try and release data in the future, like, fair play, you know, he doesn't owe it to anyone, but he's willing to be transparent, and that says a lot.
Yeah. And you know, and that's the big thing, is this is private property essentially, and Brandon's the owner, and we're all out there trying to fulfill a role, and Brand, you know, and we love and respect Brandon, and you know, I do anything for him because he's shown me that he's the kind of guy I like being around, because of his standards and because of who he is. And that goes for the rest of the team too. I've spent enough time with these guys and have gone through, you know, like Travis and I saw something I can't explain, you know, and the only reason we're so willing to talk about that is because both of us saw it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's powerful, that I was with another individual of his caliber that saw this, and we were both like, holy crap. And there's other things that we're willing to talk about because we do have the evidence there. And it is hard talking about some other things that we've had happen out there because there's no evidence. It was, you know, like Tom was by himself. I was by myself. Eric was by himself. You know, it's hard to talk about experiences in that realm because people are like, oh, you know, we don't want people to think we're just trying to make something up, you know, just to.
Sure.
You know.
One thing that really stood out for me was towards the end, it might have even been at the end of the last season, was the helicopter incident.
Yeah.
Have you been on the helicopter at all?
Yes, I have been on the helicopter before. I was on a helicopter in the military at one point and things like that. I've been around them. And again, we use helicopter assets in law enforcement law as well. I haven't seen anything like that. And to my knowledge, none of the pilots that I know of experienced anything like that.
Would you mind just talking us through it briefly for anyone that may not be aware of what actually happened?
Yeah, so one of our experiments is we have the triangle area on the ranch. And one of the theories is, and one of the things that there's an area 1,000 feet to 5,000 feet above the ranch that we think that there's something going on there. And one of the ideas was to have the helicopter go through and fly through and do like a push broom pattern or do a cyclical pattern through this area and see what kind of readings and stuff that we could get. And essentially what happened is there's this piece of equipment on the helicopter that you for lack of a better word, you're putting your life and your safety in on this. You're relying on this piece of equipment because at a certain level, I think it's 1,000 feet, it's supposed to pick up where any objects are below you. And when they're 5,000 feet above, well, I think they're actually like 4,800 feet. They didn't really quite hit 5,000. As they were heading to that apex of 5,000 feet, there was an object that was picked up underneath the helicopter, and I think the closest it got was 38 feet.
Wow.
And what people really didn't see in the television show is Cameron started flying pretty aggressively. He was doing all sorts of crazy maneuvers, trying to get potentially away from whatever this was, and it stayed with him the whole time.
Wow.
And it was going anywhere from 38 to 50 feet.
And, yeah.
It was, and there was nothing there. Obviously, we were looking there, and some of the cameras that were attached to the helicopter itself were showing some things. And at one point, there was a weird, like shimmering, if you will, from one of the camera angles. And what that was is we have this camera that was circular, and that shimmering or whatever is where the camera was coming back in on itself. So there are things that we can account for, but this object underneath the helicopter we couldn't. And everybody was on the ground looking up at the thing. We couldn't see anything.
And this is Cameron Brandon's brother, am I right? Who's a very experienced.
I don't have any. Can you guys?
Yeah,
I can't hear anybody.
Oh, we're still here. We can hear you.
Yeah. My sound's gone.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's interesting.
Uh-oh. I can drop you out and bring you back in again.
If you guys can hear me, I can't hear you guys.
Okay.
Like my screen just went black.
Oh,
I'll
really?
take you out and then back in again.
Man.
One sec.
Fucking Skinwalker after your ass.
Any better?
No.
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, we
I
can
think-
hear you.
You can hear me. I still can't hear you
yeah.
guys. This is weird.
Private
Refresh your
comment.
browser, maybe.
Let me
refresh Google.
let me see if I can come back in. Let me go out and see if I can.
Oh man.
The curse of Skinwalker.
How does that make you guys how does that make you feel like something like this exists on our country, and it's so bizarre with no seemingly not a clear answer, but there's obviously something there, like put in the context of you and your life and your place in this world. Like, how does that make you feel?
I don't know, man. It's like I was saying, I think earlier on, it's one of these topics within ufology that's on the outskirts that I still feel connected to. Can you hear us?
Yeah, there you are.
Hey,
That was so weird.
No, your
People will
face
start
actually
talking.
right
Yeah,
before
it's-
that, your face went like completely pale and then came back to color.
Yeah, like
I'm
As-
serious. If you
well,
go
as soon
back
as
and
I
watch
started, as soon as I started talking about this, all your guys' screens went black, and I was like, "What the heck's going on?" Like it was. I don't know. Maybe it's the ranch. I don't know. So,
Okay, so I'm glad you're back, and that's okay. But Sean just asked how we felt about it, and I was just saying this is one of the topics within ufology, and that is slightly on the outskirts, but I still feel connected to it, and I can't let it go. It's through my nuts and bolts past, I've become more open to the consciousness and other aspects. But Skinwalker, with regards to the cryptids and all the other kind of legends through the Utes and that, I can't seem to let it go. It really draws me in, and it has done for years now. So
mhm.
yeah, it's incredible.
like a magnet almost, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's how do you? There's so many people who've had experiences like that. We have people in the community come up, and these are people who are businessmen. These are people who you would never think would be involved in anything like this, and there's been a stigmatism with UFOs and things like that, especially for the last 50 years. And and
Yeah.
I and you know, that is where there's people need to understand like what Eric and Travis are really laying on the line here with their reputations and what they're, you know, they're willing to delve into this kind of into this realm, if you will. But again, we're having so many people that have had experiences, and it's not just in the basin. That, you know, how many people worldwide are saying they've had something happen,
Sure.
Yeah.
and yet these are people who a lot of times, like we people know when someone's getting bullshit, right? Or like when they're trying to give you a little bit more than what really happened, but something may have actually happened, but you know that they're kind of
Embellishing,
stories
maybe.
growing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't mean to cut this. I'm gonna have to come right back because I'm getting a call from.
Oh, dude,
I'm getting an important phone call.
we'll look out for you.
Adios.
So yeah, and so it's, yeah, and that's where like me and how I look at it is like, this is whenever I tell a story that I've had happen out there, I really try and focus on what happened, and I try and lay it out as much as, like, say, a testimony in court as I can, just because I'm not going to embellish it. I'm just telling you what I saw, how I saw it, and go from there. And you know, I don't appreciate when stories grow, because I think it takes away.
It does. It muddies the waters. And I think me personally, and I'm sure Sean as well, we really appreciate seeing your honesty and your openness. I hope the chat does. And this is why I would wanted to speak to you again, just to see the real human beings behind this, just another person who has no reason to lie or embellish for any gain,
Yeah, I'm, and kind of hitting back on, like, I've seen the worst and the best of a lot of people, and when you kind of go through, and this is where law enforcement, we can get crass because we're around so much horrible things,
You're hardened.
and we're seeing what people are doing to each other, and you can start hating people really easily. But just because you can start, you go in on some of this stuff and you just see things and you start going, it's not worth who I am as a person to embellish things or try and make it sound more grandiose and than what it was, and I can get excited about stuff and makes me think, but I'm not one that's going to be so flamboyant about how things happen, just because again, when I guess that's not what really gets me fired up, as like running in on a crazy call where someone's life's in danger and you're trying to make a difference, and that's tempered me a little bit on some stuff out there, and I appreciate that. And then I've also had stuff out there that I've gone like, holy crap, and this is nuts, and that's tempered me in how I'm able to view things. Like when I first experienced one of my first big experiences on the ranch, really helped me kind of level out, and go, okay, I need to be as objective, and that training kicks in, where I need to be as objective and try and pick up as many details as I can.
You didn't get that many. You didn't get that kind of training.
right. And it's like, the first couple of times I've had something happen, I was more caught up and going, oh my gosh, like, and trying to comprehend it. And the more I've had happen, it's easier for me to remain in that state where I can go, okay, I need to observe and see what else may be going on, because I could have something happening over here and something's going on behind me that we'd never know. So I'm always looking around. I'm always, trying to absorb as much as I can and just point out things that are outside the norm, if you will.
That's really interesting. I think what people should realize, and I hope I'm right in saying, is this: you are security, but you are involved in so much more on the ranch as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to turn around and go, well, you spoke to a security guy, kind of, what does he know? Because I think, I've, like I said, spoken to you before, and it's like you said, more of a group of friends who have roles within. So I just wanted to...
again, when everyone's not there, because one of the times that most people's on the ranch is when we're doing our filming, but we're always doing we're always doing experiments. Someone is always at the ranch. It seems like, and then also on top of that, like we've said, is how are we affecting experiments? How are we affecting the results that we're getting out there as because if we're out there, we're affecting it somehow. And so there are times
Probably
where
with your attitudes.
yeah, exactly. And I have access to a lot of the camera assets on my phone. I can be visiting my family, you know, in a different state and pull up the security cameras and see what's going on. And you know, and one man can't do everything, and so I'm helping Eric in a lot of going through the video footage and things like that, and I'm helping in other ways. And Tom, he's taken on different roles. He'll go through camera footage, you know, like we're all doing things, and we're all a part of this, and we're all helping out. You know, if there's a repair on the ranch, Bryant is very handy. Like he's a handyman too. He'll go out and he'll build something to help fix something on the ranch. You know, like we all have these different skills and these different assets, and we're all bringing these to the table. We're not just, you know, I'm not just sitting down at the front gate twiddling my thumbs, like taking a nap. You know,
just twirling the gun on your finger.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Lara Sandling Bennett. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, thank you, gentlemen, for such a great discussion. Thank you. We're glad that you appreciate it. One thing I would like to talk about, Kaleb, is Phenomenon, which happened a couple of weekends ago. Can you tell us about that?
So I wasn't as involved as some of the other guys. I did partake in the panel that we had there, and that was really fun. And we were just asking open questions like this, where people would ask this question and we as a team would answer it. And, you know, from what I could see, it was very successful, and we're hoping to do it again. There was a lot of different speakers and a lot of different things there. And and it's one of the things that we were trying to show, that the basin has a lot to offer. Yeah. Outside of the ranch, like there's a lot of areas out here, and from what I've heard, that it's a lot of people want to come back, and we're excited to hopefully do that again. And it was really fun to be a part of that. And there's a lot of great people out there that we were able to meet.
Yeah, it seems like a very community-driven area as well, where everyone comes together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a good friend of mine, Carl Vibo. I think you probably are speaking to tomorrow, if I'm right.
I think I'm actually speaking with them at 6 tonight. So.
Oh, is it tonight? Okay, my apologies.
Ooh,
great guy. Such a good guy. But I know
I'd love to talk to you as well on my show.
Yeah,
I got to throw that out there.
I'd be more than willing to talk to you and get to know you better, Sean. So
sweet.
Yeah. So what I got from some videos Carl's already put out, that it's just such a beautiful place. The community are very open, and it's a good place. Skinwalker Ranch or not, it's just awesome. So
yeah, it's there's a lot of diversity in the basin, if you will. And I think I touched on this a little bit last time we talked. That there's so many other things out here. Yeah. You have all these. One of the main ones is the Lost Roads Gold Mine. There's a lot of gold stories. There's a lot of stories with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This was the area that they were running around. You have stories of Buffalo Soldiers. You have
Buffalo Soldiers are buried there.
Yeah, there's all this awesome American West history out here, and again, that's kind of something what I grew up with up in Southeast Idaho. There's a lot of Western and a lot of stories up in these areas, especially like the mining and the mining towns and the ghost towns up in Idaho and stuff. And that's a lot down here too, is the American West is so vibrant and so much history that happened, in such a short amount of time, really.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff out here, not just the UFO and, that realm. And then
whatever's behind it all could be the reason there's a lot of stuff out there.
Right. And you have a lot of dinosaur stuff out on the other side of Vernal. That's one of the big things that has driven a lot of people here. Is
You don't believe in dinosaurs? I've never seen one.
No, but that's one of the hot spots, isn't it, for many decades?
Yeah.
Some of the best full skeleton digs have come from that area, if I'm right.
I believe they have the Dinosaur National Monument, which I haven't been there personally. Sorry if anybody from this area that's watching this, but my family have told me that there's an area where you can walk down and they're just sticking out of the wall, all these bones and all this stuff. And it's pretty cool. And there's an area where they have the footprints where these dinosaurs were walking through, and they're still there in the rock and stuff. And they're very well defined, and you're not mistaken what those are. So
wow,
could you imagine
mind
seeing
blowing.
a real dinosaur still?
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. So
wow,
yeah, incredible, man. Well, I mean, we could keep going. If there's anything you want to touch upon, let's just keep
Oh.
going. I'm all good for time. Oh, here's a question. John
Oh, I
Hunston,
got
thank
plenty.
you
I
for the
didn't
£5.
know how long this was
Caleb,
going.
are you scared of digging at Skinwalker, or is that just Dragon?
Oh, that's just Dragon. No, we inherited this narrative, right, where bad things happen when we dig, and there has been a correlation of things happening when we've dug on the ranch. And I can say that most of our team, if not all of our team, we want to find out what's going on, and digging is one of those things. And I know Dragon gets a lot of crap for this, but he is very personal about how he feels about our safety and us as a team. You know, he cares deeply for us, and he doesn't want anything to happen. And so, you know, he is one of our voices of caution a lot of time, and that's fine. And I appreciate it. But I can tell you that's he's more than okay with us digging and going out, as long as we're doing it safely, you know, and we're trying to cover as much of our bases as we can.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the activity ever mirrors or reflects your attitudes? Like if you're feeling down, or you're feeling happy or sad or whatever, or celebratory, do you ever get a reflection there from the activity?
That is actually something that we have talked about a lot before, and we kind of feel as a consensus that the ranch amplifies what you're feeling. And so
That's a total guess, by the way.
Yeah, so that is something that we've talked about, and again, how do we quantify that? How do we show that? And you know, a
stress test on you, and then what the activity does. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. So and that's where you feel that more internally, if you will, you know, like 9 out of 10, you know, 99.9% of the time you got to the ranch, it feels serene. It's a really gorgeous piece of property with the especially in the area that you're seeing most of, with the trees and the fields and the pitch and all that stuff. It's all green, and then you have the mesa right there, and a lot of times, you know, it's just like any other ranch, really, in that sense.
Kind of like a blank canvas almost.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you know, you could you know, if you know Chris Bartell, and he was one of the old security guards from Bigelow's days, he's posted a lot of photographs of his time when he was out there.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he has such an eye for it. He's a really good friend of mine. I've been able to grow that relationship with him over the last couple of years, and he's, you know, and I think he's really doing a good job of showing the ranch in that light. But then again, you know, we do have these things happening out there, and both of us are like, at night we both hate going to Homestead 3, like the one people have never really seen that one, but for whatever reason, that's where, like, I think I'm as brave as the next guy, but I hate going to Homestead 3 at night by myself. Like I hate it. If you start getting this feel with the weird vibes and the weird, like I'm being watched feeling over there, and I yeah. And,
I would love to perform a couple of my songs at Skinwalker Ranch. I think you would. I'm serious. I think you would get a lot of reaction. It's very emotional.
It is. It's incredible stuff. It is absolutely incredible. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's outside of my realm of seeing if I can do that. So
that's fine. If it's meant to be, it'll be.
Right.
So, Caleb, can you, without us asking too much of you, confirm that season 3 is going ahead, and we should expect to see more, you know, in the next year or two?
I think we've got it out there a little bit enough that season 3 is going to happen, but I can't speak to any more of that.
Sure.
So
no, that's cool. It's just, I think I've heard a few people ask the question, and, you know, along with the things I've seen from Brandon as far as data eventually appearing on the website, I think personally, I'm, you know, really looking forward to seeing the continuation of what is discovered and researched and things like that on the ranch. So yeah, that's awesome. Sean, anything before we wrap this up?
Do you feel the search for data is almost a distraction from focusing on oneself and what the real truth is, which may be inside there?
That's a great question.
You know, there's a lot of layers to that, I think. So I think there's a lot of data that we're getting outside, if you will, and you're hitting it right on the head on some of the discussions that we have is what is the real story?
Mhm.
You know, what is, if you will, the real mystery or the real secret, or what is it? You know,
Yeah.
and we can't, and I feel like sometimes we do overlook the human aspect of it.
Mhm.
But you know, and that's kind of where
But yeah, you're
Eric's,
trying to prove it. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, and Eric's kind of, he's told me that before. He's like, you know, he loves me being out there just because of the different experiences and what I bring as, say, the guy running in on these law enforcement type calls, and then I come out to the ranch and I'm noticing these same emotions and these same energies, if you will, that people are experiencing, and I'm seeing that in other aspects, and
Yeah.
and you know, law enforcement, we're watching people, we're studying people, we're watching people's habits, we're seeing how they react, we're seeing what they're doing, and you notice when something happens and people's body language changes.
Sure.
You know, and we all have these, and everybody out there has different experiences, and we're all bringing these different life experiences to the ranch. And you know, the five of us could be all standing out there, witness something, and we all have a different perspective of what it is and why it happened.
Just like everything else, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has everyone has their opinion, everybody has
Interesting,
their,
yeah.
yep. So
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, because it seems like everybody has their own unique, you know, just not you guys, but everybody who has a real encounter, they all seem different in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. And the only thing I can say to that is that's just like us.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we're all different. So doesn't that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. One of the things that we actually tell people when they come to the ranch is the ranch reacts differently to people. And so one of the biggest things is whenever we bring out new guests or you know, on or off the screen or whenever, that's one of the things we tell them is the ranch reacts differently. So pay very close attention to yourself and to even your family over the next couple of days, and let us know if something happens. Because again, we warn, like, whenever anybody comes out, we give them the safety brief. We let them know what happens and what we've had happen, and we're very serious about that. And again, that's one of the things, like, I know Bryant gets a lot of grief for some of how he's portrayed, but you know, he and I take this very seriously. We've had injuries, we've had things. Again, this is a working ranch. Like, you could have a mundane thing, like you'll be walking out and a cow will kick you.
Yeah.
you know, there's things out there that can and do hurt people, and we do take that serious. And again, the ranch reacts differently to new people. So
Very, very interesting.
It is. It's still mind blowing.
Doesn't it make you just want to, like, you know, get everybody to walk the land just to see all the different reactions from all the different people, and maybe the right person will.
Right.
Who knows? Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's like, well, let's keep trying this. Yeah, new person, new person.
Yeah, it's an experiment in and of itself, and you know, and that's where I feel though that's where we've kind of noticed that if we can feel that energy from people, like, we want to protect the ranch itself too. You know, like I said, in the earlier example, like, the ranch felt like violation was the word that came to my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't want that anywhere near, you know, myself or anybody else, you know.
You were powerful enough to get rid of that. And you should feel some confidence there.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
stuff. So
it's been one that I've kind of felt like I've been a little bit more driven to talk about a little bit, because that is something that's very serious in people's lives. And, you know, I'm seeing that we need more,
light.
I guess we need to be fighting that a little bit more, if you will.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Definitely. I'm with you as well, man. I really want to go out there and have Kaleb usher me around the ranch, you know.
Oh, you'd piss your pants and cry like
no, I've just got that awesome good vibes, man. It's the good vibes, you know. I wouldn't be that worried about the the
Well, I would.
tricksters or anything. Oh, okay, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit. But,
Oh, see. Oh, okay. I admit it. Then you say, oh, good.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. There's been times where I've been out there and I've been like, I can't get off the ranch fast enough because I'm going, what the heck? Like, I'm out of here. Like, you do your thing, ranch. I'm going home. Please leave me alone.
I'm sure that's more realistic how I'd react. To be fair, I'm just playing up for the camera.
Right.
You're great. You're a great dude, Caleb. I can see it in your face. You're genuine. Very
thank you.
positive, bright.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can tell you're beautiful on the inside. So I'm glad I got the chance to talk to you.
I was happy to. I'm grateful I was able to speak with you guys and get to know you guys a little bit more too.
Thank you so much, and we have to do it again in the future. Like, just even if we talk about other things, it'd be great to have you on another panel touching on any subject. Like Sean said, you're a great soul, great person.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you'd accept an invite in the future.
Oh, I'd be happy to, and I'd be honored to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Caleb. Thank you, Sean, Andy that joined us. Everyone in the chat. You can catch Caleb later today on Carl Vibes channel. So yeah, more great conversations. But for now, guys, we'll catch you later.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.